Hazardous materials, practice test number 1. Question number 1. A transport index relates to products that are meant for human consumption, liquid, radioactive, or overweight. The answer is radioactive. This comes from 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. In Class 7 radioactive materials, some packages of Class 7 or radioactive materials bear a number called the transport index. The shipper labels these packages radioactive 2 or radioactive 3 and prints the package's transport index on the label. Also, radiation surrounds each package, passing through all nearby packages. To deal with this problem, the number of packages you can load together is controlled. Their closeness to people, animals, and unexposed film is also controlled. The transport index tells the degree of control needed during transportation. That's a little more than the question required, but it's important to know what that means, especially if you're going to transport hazardous materials. Question number 2. A placarded vehicle must have at least how many placards? 2, 3, 4, or 6? The answer is 4. From 9.3.3, List of Regulated Products, placards. Placards are used to warn others of hazardous materials. Placards are signs put on the outside of a vehicle and on bulk packages which identify the hazard class of the cargo. And to answer the question in highlighted, a placarded vehicle must have at least 4 identical placards. Question number 3. A safe haven is defined as a designated place in your carrier's parking lot, a government-approved place for parking vehicles loaded with explosives, any place where someone is watching your tractor and trailer for you, or a shelter in the event of an explosion. It is B, a government-approved place for parking vehicles loaded with explosives. 9.6.1, parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. You are allowed to leave your vehicle unattended in a safe haven. A safe haven is an approved place for parking unattended vehicles loaded with explosives. That's the main part to remember. Unattended vehicles loaded with explosives. Designation of authorized safe havens is usually made by local authorities. Question number 4. A vehicle placarded for Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives may never be left unattended under any condition, may be left unattended in a safe haven, may never be parked on private property, or may not be parked on the consignee's property. The answer is may be left unattended in a safe haven. And this comes from the same section as the previous question, 9.6.1, parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. You are allowed to leave your vehicle unattended in a safe haven. Question number 5. Check placarded vehicles with dual tires at the start of each trip. In addition, check the tires every 2 hours or 100 miles, each time you stop, every 6 hours, or every 200 miles. It's each time you stop. From 9.6.9, you must examine each tire on a motor vehicle at the beginning of each trip and each time the vehicle is parked. Number 6. Containment rules are rules that instruct the driver in loading hazardous materials, instruct the driver in transporting hazardous materials, instruct the driver in unloading bulk tanks, hauling hazardous materials, or all of the above. The answer is all of the above. In 9.1.1 containment material, transporting hazardous materials can be risky. The regulations are intended to protect you, those around you, and the environment. They tell shippers how to package the material safely, and drivers how to load, transport, and unload the material. These are called containment rules. So we're talking about loading, transporting, and unloading, all in right here highlighted. Question 7. If the hazardous materials are classified as forbidden, you should take special caution in transporting the material, remove the placards from the trailer, refuse the load, or place the materials in the front of the trailer. The answer is refuse to load. In 9.3.3 Lists of Regulated Products, column 3 shows a material's hazard class or division or the entry forbidden. Never transport a forbidden material. Placard HazMat shipments based on the quantity and hazard class. Question number 8. If you're hauling hazardous materials and have blank tires on your vehicle, you must stop and check them every time you park. The answer is dual tires on your vehicle. In 9.6.9, check tires. You must examine each tire on a motor vehicle at the beginning of each trip and each time the vehicle is parked. The main reason, it doesn't specify in hazardous materials section, but the main reason why dual is the correct answer is in 2.17.4 in tire failure. It talks about checking the tires. After you've come to a stop, get out and check all tires. Do this even if the vehicle seems to be handling all right. And here's the key part. If one of your dual tires goes, the only way you may know it is by getting out and looking at it. Question number 9. If you are required to stop at railroad crossings, you must stop 15 to 50 feet before the nearest rail. Remember to never shift gears while crossing tracks. Proceed only when you're sure no train is coming, or all of the above. It is all of the above in 9.6.12. You must stop 15 to 50 feet before the nearest rail. Proceed only when you're sure no train is coming and you can clear the tracks without stopping. And last, don't shift gears while crossing the tracks. Number 10. In order to transport hazardous materials which require placards, you must have a commercial driver's license. You must pass a written test on hazardous materials. You must have the hazardous materials endorsement on your CDL, or all of the above. It's all of the above in Section 9, hazardous materials, in the intro. You must have a commercial driver's license, or CDL, with a hazardous materials endorsement before you drive any size vehicle that is used to transport hazardous material as defined in 49 CFR 383.5. You must pass a written test, which is the last part of that, about the regulations or requirements to get this endorsement. So you must have a commercial driver's license, you must pass a written test on hazardous materials, as well as you must have the HazMat endorsement on your CDL. Question number 11. Of the following hazardous material classes, which is the most dangerous? Division 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, or 6.4? The answer is Division 6.1. In 9.3.1 definitions, it says a material's hazard class reflects the risks associated with it. There are 9 different hazard classes. The types of materials included in these 9 classes are in figure 9.1 here. It has each class and has all 9 classes here, but in the division, as you note, the highest one, or the lowest number, 1.1, or in this case 6.1, is more dangerous than 6.2. The higher on the chart, but the lower the number, 6.1 being lower than 6.2, the lower the number, the more dangerous the material is. Question number 12. On the hazardous materials table, column 1 shows how to ship an item, to what shipping mode the information on that line applies, how much of the material can be put in a vehicle without placarding, or what materials can be loaded together. The answer is to what shipping mode the information on that line applies. In 9.3.3 lists of regulated products, column 1 tells which shipping modes the entry affects and other information concerning the shipping description. Question 13. Some hazardous materials may not be loaded together with other hazardous materials. The prohibited combinations are listed in the hazardous materials table, hazardous waste manifest, segregation and separation chart, or list of hazardous materials and reportable quantities. It's the segregation and separation chart. In 9.4.1 general loading requirements, talks about mixed loads. The rules require some products to be loaded separately. You cannot load them together in the same cargo space. Figure 9.9 lists some examples. The regulations, the segregation table for hazardous materials, name other materials you must keep apart. Question number 14. Tankers used to transport hazardous materials on vehicles must be marked with the UN or NA ID number of the product, the date of manufacture, the Chemtrec phone number, or the owner's PUCO or ICC number. The answer is the UN or NA ID number of the product. In 9.3.3 lists of regulated products, identification numbers are 4-digit code used by first responders to identify hazardous materials. An ID number may be used to identify more than one chemical. The letters NA or UN will precede the identification number. The United States Department of Transportation's Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG, lists the chemicals and the identification numbers assigned to them. So it's the UN or NA ID number of the product that tankers must be marked with. Question 15. The designation RQ identifies the material's reference quotient, regulatory quotient, reportable quantity, regulatory quantity. The answer is the reportable quantity. 9.3.3 List of regulated products. Column 3 of the list shows each product's reportable quantity, RQ. Hazardous substances and reportable quantities. The DOT and EPA want to know about spills of hazardous substances. They are named in the list of hazardous substances and reportable quantities. See Figure 9.5. Column 3 of the list shows each product's reportable quantity, RQ. So RQ means reportable quantity. Question 16. The floor liner for explosives may not contain steel or iron, contain nails or screws, contain cracks or holes, or contain any of the above. It's contain any of the above. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. Precautions for special hazards. Class 1 Explosives Materials. Turn your engine off before loading or unloading any explosive. Then check the cargo space. You must, and here are the key parts, disable cargo heaters, which is not mentioned in the question. Make sure there are no sharp points that might damage cargo, which is mentioned. Look for bolts, screws, nails, broken side panels, and broken floorboards. And also, use a floor lining with division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3. The key is the floors must be tight, and the liner must be either non-metallic material or non-ferrous material. Non-ferrous metals are any metal that does not contain iron or iron alloys. Question 17. The product ID markings on a tank must be black 4-inch numbers on orange panels, orange 4-inch numbers on black panels, green 4-inch numbers on white panels, or white 4-inch numbers on orange panels. The answer is black 4-inch numbers on orange panels. In 9.5.1 markings, identification numbers are in column 4 of the hazardous materials table. The rules require black 100 millimeter or 3.9 inch, basically 4-inch numbers on orange panels, placards, or a white diamond shaped background if no placards are required. Question 18. The shipping papers for hazardous materials can be found in a pouch on the driver's door, in clear view within reach while driving, on the driver's seat when out of the vehicle, or any of the above locations. It's any of the above locations. In 9.6.10, where to keep shipping papers and emergency response information. When you are behind the wheel, keep shipping papers within your reach with the seatbelt on or in a pouch on the driver's door. They must be easily seen by someone entering the cab. And when not behind the wheel, leave shipping papers in the driver's door pouch or on the driver's seat. Number 19. When transporting both hazardous and non-hazardous materials, your bills must describe the hazardous materials first, have the hazardous materials highlighted, identify the materials by letters X or IQ in the HM column, or any of the above. It's any of the above. 9.3.5 Item Description. If a shipping paper describes both hazardous and non-hazardous products, the hazardous materials must be entered first, highlighted in a contrasting color, or identified by an X placed before the shipping description. Question number 20. When transporting explosives, you may not park within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road, park within 300 feet of a tunnel, park near an open fire, or all of the above. It's all of the above. 9.6.1 Parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. Never park with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road, which was the first part, except for short periods of time needed for vehicle operation necessities, for example, fueling. Do not park within 300 feet of A bridge, tunnel, or building. Talked about 300 feet of a tunnel. A place where people gather, or an open fire, which was C. So all of the above is correct. Question 21. When transporting hazardous waste, you must have the word waste before the name of the material on the bills, sign a uniform hazardous waste manifest, carry a uniform hazardous waste manifest in the truck, or all of the above. It is all of the above. 9.3.9 Hazardous Waste Manifest. The shipper of hazardous wastes must put the word waste before the proper shipping name of the material on the shipping paper. Hazardous Waste Manifest. For example, like this, UN 1090, then waste acetone 3 and PG2. Also in the next section 9.3.9, when transporting hazardous wastes, you must sign by hand and carry a uniform hazardous waste manifest. So A has the word waste before the name of the material on the bills. That comes from the previous section here. The shipper of hazardous wastes must put the word waste before the proper shipping name of the material on the shipping paper. Question number 22. Which of the following statements about radioactive labels is true? Yellow 3 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. Yellow 2 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. White 1 indicates the highest level of radioactivity, or black 3 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. The first one, A, yellow 3 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. In placard table 1, the last one here is radioactive yellow 3 is the highest level of radioactivity shown. Question number 23. Which of the following statements about loading and unloading cargo tanks is false? The person in attendance must be aware of the danger. The person in attendance must be within 50 feet of the tank. The person attending the tanker must have a clear view of it. Or the person in attendance must be authorized and able to move the vehicle. Correct answer, which one of these was false, was the person in attendance must be within 50 feet of the tank. In 9.5.2 tank loading, this person watching the unloading or unloading must be within 25 feet of the tank, so closer, and that's why this one's false. Question number 24. Who is responsible for certifying on the bills of lading that the hazardous materials are prepared properly? The driver, the shipper, the carrier, or the dock workers? The answer is the shipper. In 9.2.1, under hazardous materials transportation, who does what? The first part is the shipper, and the shipper must package, mark, and label the materials, prepare shipping papers, provide emergency response information, and supply placards. So the answer is B, the shipper. Question 25. You may use dangerous placards instead of separate placards for each Table 2 hazard class when you have 1,001 pounds or more of 2 or more Table 2 hazard classes requiring different placards, or you have not loaded 2,205 pounds or more of any Table 2 hazard class material at any one place. You must use the specific placard for this material, or both A and B above, or either A or B above. It's both A or B above. 9.311 under placard tables. There are two placard tables, Table 1 and Table 2. Table 1 materials must be placarded when any amount is transported. And here, the key part, you may use dangerous placards instead of separate placards for each Table 2 hazard class when you have 1,001 or more of 2 or more Table 2 hazard classes requiring different placards, and you have not totaled 2,205 pounds or more of any Table 2 hazard class material at any one place. Question 26. You must carry a gas mask with you when transporting flammable materials, chlorine, poison, or liquid gas. The answer is B, chlorine. In 9.6.11, equipment for chlorine. A driver transporting chlorine in cargo tanks must have an approved gas mask in the vehicle. Question 27. You must control how far packages labeled radioactive 2 or radioactive 3 are located from people and cargo space walls by referring to the transport index and the separation distances table, the list of hazardous materials and reportable quantities, the table of hazardous materials, or the segregation and separation chart. It's A, the transport index and separation distances table. In 9.4.1, general loading requirements for Class 7 radioactive materials, some packages of Class 7 radioactive materials bear a number called the transport index. The shipper labels these packages radioactive 2 or radioactive 3. Question 28. You must have placards for explosives, poison gas, or dangerous when wet exceeding 10 pounds, 10 cartons, 100 pounds, or any amount. The answer is any amount. In 9.3.11 placard tables, it talks about the two kinds of placard tables, Table 1 and Table 2. Table 1 materials must be placarded whenever any amount is transported. Question 29. You must notify who of any spills exceeding the RQ, or if you recall, reportable quantity. Customer, State Patrol, DOT and EPA, or Federal Highway Administration. It's the DOT and EPA. In 9.3.3, list of regulated products, and in the appendix, the list of hazardous materials and reportable quantities. It says the DOT and EPA want to know about spills of hazardous substances. The main thing you need to know. Question number 30. You should turn off your engine when loading flammable liquid unless the material does not need a placard, you need the engine to run the pump, you are a non-smoker, or you are loading at night and need the headlights. The answer is you should turn off your engine when loading flammable liquid unless you need the engine to run the pump. In 9.5.3 flammable liquids, turn off your engine before loading or unloading any flammable liquids. Only run the engine if needed to operate a pump. Hazardous materials practice test number 2. Question number 1. A driver that hauls hazardous materials must attend training every 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, or none of the above. It's every 3 years. From Section 9, Hazardous Materials Intro, the regulations require that hazardous materials employees be trained and tested at least once every 3 years. Question number 2. An A/W in the first column of the hazardous materials table means the material has no restrictions when shipped by air and or water. There are no restrictions with this material if shipped by water only. It is okay to ship this material by air only, or this material is only restricted when shipped by air and or water. An A/W in the first column means this material is only restricted when shipped by air and or water. 9.3.3 List of regulated products. The A means that the hazardous material described in column 2 is subject to the HMR only when offered or if intended for transport by air. The A for air, unless it is a hazardous substance or a hazardous waste. W means the hazardous material described in column 2 is subject to the HMR only when offered or intended for transportation by water, unless it is a hazardous substance, hazardous waste, or marine pollutant. Question number 3. Animals and human foodstuffs should not be loaded in the same vehicle with flammable liquids, explosives, flammable gases, or poisons. The answer is poisons. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. Do not load 6.1 or 2.3 poison or poison inhalation hazard labeled material in the same vehicle with animal or human food unless the poison package is overpacked in an approved way. Foodstuffs are anything you swallow. However, mouthwash, toothpaste, and skin creams are not foodstuff. Question number 4. At what time is it required for the driver to have an approved gas mask on hand? Any vehicle carrying an inhalation hazard cargo, any vehicle carrying chlorine, any vehicle carrying toxic materials, or all of the above. It's any vehicle carrying chlorine, as we've seen before with the gas mask about chlorine. In section 9.6.11, equipment for chlorine, a driver transporting chlorine in cargo tanks must have an approved gas mask in the vehicle. Question number 5. Class A explosives must not be transported in a combination vehicle if the vehicle includes a placarded cargo tank, 2 or more trailers, a 200-inch wheelbase trailer, or none of the above? The answer is a placarded cargo tank. In 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements, do not transport Division 1.1 or 1.2, those are explosives, in vehicle combinations if there is a marked or placarded cargo tank in the combination, which is a placarded cargo tank. Question number 6. Cylinders containing compressed gases may only be loaded onto a vehicle without a flat floor or platform if the cylinders are in boxes that will keep them from turning over, loaded into racks attached to the vehicle, loaded in an upright or horizontal position, or all of the above. The answer is all of these, all of the above. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements under Class 2 compressed gases, including cryogenic liquids. If your vehicle does not have racks to hold cylinders, the cargo space floor must be flat. The cylinders must be held upright and in racks attached to the vehicle or in boxes that will keep them from turning over. The last thing, cylinders may be loaded in a horizontal position, lying down if it is designed so the relief valve is in the vapor space. So it's mentioned in boxes that will keep them from turning over, loaded onto racks attached to the vehicle, and loaded in an upright or horizontal position. All of the above. Question number 7. Do not smoke within how many feet of a placarded cargo tank used for Class 3 flammable liquids or Division 2.1, which are gases? 25 feet, 50, 75, or 100 feet. Correct answer is 25 feet. In 9.6.6 under smoking, do not smoke within 25 feet of a placarded cargo tank used for Class 3 flammable liquids or Division 2.1 gases. Question number 8. Drivers of placarded vehicles transporting hazardous materials must stop how many feet from the nearest rail of a railroad? 15 to 20 feet, 15 to 50 feet, 5 to 10 feet, or 15 to 50 yards? The answer is 15 to 50 feet. 9.6.12 Stop before railroad crossing says, stop before a railroad crossing if your vehicle is placarded, carries any amount of chlorine, has cargo tanks, whether loaded or empty, used for hazardous materials, and you must stop 15 to 50 feet before the nearest rail. Question number 9. Drivers who transport route-controlled radioactive materials must carry a dated certificate of radioactive materials training. This training must have occurred within the last 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, or 1 year. The answer is 2 years. In hazardous materials introduction, the regulations also require that drivers have special training before driving a vehicle transporting certain flammable gas materials or highway route-controlled quantities of radioactive materials. Not every state CDL manual has this information. It's a federal regulation, but take note in this section, it'll say whether that information is applicable to your state. Some just say you have to have special training whenever you transport route-controlled radioactive materials. Question 10. How many different hazard classes are there? 9, 23, 24, or 19? Answer is 9 in 9.3.1 definitions. In this hazardous materials class table, they show the 9 classes and their corresponding divisions and examples. Question number 11. How many identical placards is a vehicle hauling hazardous materials required to display and wear? 1 on the rear of the vehicle only. 2, 1 on the front and 1 on the back. 4, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. Or 4, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and 1 on each side of the vehicle. The answer is the last one, 4. 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and 1 on each side of the vehicle from 9.3.3 Lists of Regulated Products Placards. A placarded vehicle must have at least 4 identical placards. They are put on the front, rear, and both sides of the vehicle. Question number 12. If a hazardous material is spilling from your vehicle, do not move your vehicle any more than safety required, in an upwind direction, any more than 450 feet, or any more than 500 feet. It's any more than safety required. In 9.7.3, under fires, if hazardous materials are spilling from your vehicle, do not move it any more than safety requires. Question number 13. If the words inhalation hazard appear on your shipping papers, you need placards designating a poison, placards designating a hazardous substance, a gas mask in the cab of your truck, or gloves for handling the materials. It's A, placards designating a poison from Manual Section 9.3.3, Lists of regulated products. If the words inhalation hazard appear on the shipping paper or package, the rules require display of poison, inhalation hazard, or poison gas placards as appropriate. These placards must be used in addition to other placards which may be required by the product's hazard class. Always display the hazard class placard and the poison inhalation hazard placard, even for small amounts. So if the words inhalation hazard appear on the shipping papers, you need placards designating a poison. Question 14. In column 1, the symbol I means iodine, international restrictions, international transportation, or invalid substance. The answer is international transportation. In 9.3.3, the lists of regulated products, here it says the I identifies a proper shipping name that is used to describe materials in international transportation. Number 15. Special requirements for hazardous materials shipping papers include color coding the hazardous materials bills, requiring drivers to keep papers either tabbed or on top of other papers, requiring shippers to keep the bills in a separate envelope, or none of the above. It's B, requiring drivers to keep papers either tabbed or on top of other papers. Section 9.6.10, where to keep shipping papers and emergency response information. Clearly distinguish hazardous materials shipping papers from others by tabbing them or keeping them on top of a stack of papers. Question 16. The basic description of a hazardous material includes the hazard class, the ID number, and the proper shipping name. Which one must appear first on the shipping paper? The box number, the identification number, the hazard class, or the proper shipping name? The answer is the identification number. From Manual Section 9.3.5, the item description. The basic description of hazardous materials includes the identification number, proper shipping name, hazard class or division, and the packing group, if any, in that order. A little bit of more information here. More than a year ago, this is almost 2 years ago now, the sequence of the basic description on hazardous materials shipping papers changed in the DOT regulation. This is the new order of information per 49 CFR 172.202. Identification number, proper shipping name, hazard class, and then packing group. To ease the transition to this new order, DOT is allowing shippers to use the old sequence of information just until January 1st, 2013, of course, is passed. They can still use proper shipping name, hazard class, subsidiary hazard, and identification number, packing group. And apparently, many states have not picked up on this, as many official state CDL manuals still have the old sequence as the proper one. Until corrected, I advise using the order that's specified in your state's CDL manual. So that's still the case, and if you're going to get the answer correct, you need to say what the order is in your state's CDL manual, even if it's not up to date with the federal regulations change that's mentioned here. Question number 17. The hazard class of all materials specifies how heavy the material is, how much of the material is on your trailer, the risks associated with the materials, or how flammable the material is. The answer is the risks associated with the materials. From 9.3.1 definitions, a material's hazard class reflects the risks associated with it. Also in 9.1.2, shippers must warn drivers and others about the material's hazards to communicate the risk. Question 18. The transport index of a radioactive material is another way of writing the weight of the package, is something that only the shipper needs to worry about, tells the degree of control needed during transportation, or none of the above. Answer C, tells the degree of control needed during transportation. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. The transport index tells the degree of control needed during transportation. Question number 19. There are three lists that drivers, shippers, and carriers use to find out if a material is regulated as hazardous. Which one of these choices is not one of those three lists? The list of hazardous substances and reportable quantities, the list of marine pollutants, EPA dangerous materials list, or hazardous materials table. The answer is the EPA dangerous materials list. Here it mentions the list. Always check the following lists: hazardous materials table, which was D, the list of hazardous substances and reportable quantities, which was A, and the list of marine pollutants, which was B. So the answer is EPA dangerous materials list, which is not shown. Question 20. What type of fire extinguisher is required in the power unit of a placarded vehicle? A UL rating of 15 ABC, a UL rating of 5 BC or above, a UL rating of 10 BC or above, or any of the above are acceptable. The answer is a UL rating of 10 BC or above from 9.6.8. 10 BC fire extinguisher. The power unit of placarded vehicles must have a fire extinguisher with a UL rating of 10 BC or more. Question 21. When a substance in the materials table is written in italics, it means it is not a proper shipping name. Only those in Roman type above it are proper shipping names. It is a foreign substance. The substance is for international transport, or it is the proper shipping name. Answer: it is not the proper shipping name. 9.3.3 lists of regulated products. The table shows proper shipping names in regular type. The shipping paper must show proper shipping names. Names shown in italics are not proper shipping names. Question 22. When fueling a placarded vehicle, someone must always be within 10 feet of the pump with a fire extinguisher, at the emergency power shutoff for the pump, at the nozzle controlling the fuel flow, or be at the rearmost corner of the vehicle. The answer is C, at the nozzle controlling the fuel flow. From 9.6.7, refuel with engine off. Turn off your engine before fueling a motor vehicle containing hazardous materials. Someone must always be at the nozzle controlling fuel flow. Question number 23. When hauling explosives 1.1 and 1.3, which placard do you use? Explosives 1.3, explosives 1.1, dangerous, or both A and C? The answer is B, explosives 1.1 from 9.3.11 placard tables. If your vehicle contains any amount of mass explosives, or 1.1, you placard as explosives 1.1, or the most dangerous. Question number 24. When transporting compressed gases, you must secure the cylinders in boxes or racks, or brace them down flat, cover the cylinders with an asbestos material, secure the cylinders together, or none of the above. The answer is A, secure the cylinders in boxes or racks, or brace them down flat. In 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements, Class 2 compressed gases, including cryogenic liquids. If your vehicle does not have racks to hold cylinders, the cargo space floor must be flat, which is A. The cylinders must be held upright and in racks attached to the vehicle or in boxes that will keep them from turning over. Question 25. When transporting explosives, flammable liquid, or flammable gas, you may not use cargo heaters, take more than an 8-hour break, load the materials in a closed cargo space, or smoke in the cab of your truck. The answer is you may not use cargo heaters. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. Under cargo heater rules, the rules usually forbid use of cargo heaters, including automatic cargo heater / air conditioner units. Question number 26. Which of the following is the proper definition of a cargo tank? A bulk container not permanently attached to a vehicle. A bulk container permanently attached to a vehicle. Both choices A and B, or none of the above. The answer is B, a bulk container permanently attached to a vehicle. 9.5, bulk packaging, marking, loading, and unloading. Cargo tanks are bulk packaging permanently attached to a vehicle. Question 27. Which of the following must drivers have in their possession while transporting Class A or Class B explosives? The carrier's insurance policy, the written route plan, both of the above, or none of the above? The answer is B, the written route plan. 9.6.5 route restrictions. If transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives, you must have a written route plan and follow that plan. Question number 28. Who is responsible for packaging, labeling, and preparing the hazardous material shipping papers for a common carrier? Your spouse, the shipper, the carrier, or the driver? The answer is B, the shipper. 9.3.7 and 9.3.6. In shipper's certification, when the shipper packages hazardous materials, he or she certifies that the package has been prepared according to the rules. So first of all, they prepare it, and they do it by the rules. And secondly, under package markings and labels, shippers print required markings directly on the package, an attached label or tag. So they prepare it, and they package it, and they label it. Question 29. With most hazardous materials, you may park within 5 feet of the road briefly if your work requires it. The materials that are the exception and do not allow parking this close to the road are acids and poisons, explosives A and B, liquids, or corrosives and oxidizers. The answer is B, explosives A and B. In 9.6.1, parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives, it says you may park a placarded vehicle not laden with explosives within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road only if your work requires it. Question 30. You do not have a hazardous materials endorsement on your commercial driver license. When can you legally haul hazardous materials? Only when your vehicle does not require placards, all of the above, never, or only when the shipment does not cross state lines. The answer is only when the vehicle does not require placards. In 2.24.3, list of regulated products, or in this section, it's California manual, it's 2.23.3, says you can drive a vehicle that carries hazardous materials if it does not require placards. Hazardous materials, practice test 3. Question number 1. A segregation and separation chart indicate products that cannot be loaded together in the same trailer, products requiring special handling, products requiring special labeling, products that are transported with animals. The answer is A, products that cannot be loaded together in the same trailer. In 9.4.1, general loading requirements, the regulations, the segregation table for hazardous materials, name other materials you must keep apart. Question number 2. A hazard class name or ID number may not be used to describe a reportable quantity of a hazardous substance, hazardous waste, non-hazardous material, or chlorine. The answer is C, non-hazardous material. 9.3.5, the item description. A non-hazardous material may not be described by using a hazard class or an identification number. Question number 3. A placard is required for a combustible liquid at 110 gallons, 100 gallons, 1,001 pounds or more, or any amount. Answer is C, 1,001 pounds or more. In 9.3.11 placard tables, it has placard table number 2 here, which materials need to be placarded at 1,001 pounds or more, and combustible liquid is listed here. So the answer is 1,001 pounds or more required placarding for a combustible liquid. Question number 4. A placard must be placed at least 3 inches away from any other markings, 3 inches from the back of the trailer, 3 inches from the bottom of the trailer, or 3 inches from the front of the trailer. The answer is A, at least 3 inches away from any other markings. 9.3.10 placarding. Placards must appear on both sides and both ends of the vehicle. Each placard must be, and has three things. The main thing here for this question is at least 3 inches away from any other markings. Just in case they ask, it's also easily seen from the direction it faces and placed so that the words or numbers are level and read from left to right. But for this question, at least 3 inches away from any other marking. Question number 5. A placard on the trailer is intended to communicate the risk of hazardous materials, keep people away from the trailer, stop lumpers from unloading hazardous materials, or remind carriers to give the load to qualified drivers. The answer is A, communicate the risk of hazardous materials. In 9.1.2, communicate the risk. To communicate the risk, shippers must warn drivers and others about the material's hazards. Question number 6. Carriers must give each driver who transports Class A or B explosives a copy of FMCSR Part 349, a copy of FMCSR Part 397, an extra fire extinguisher, or the consignee's phone number. The answer is B, a copy of FMCSR Part 397. In 9.6.10, where to keep shipping papers and emergency response information, a carrier must give each driver transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives a copy of Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, that's FMCSR Part 397. Question number 7. Entries in the hazardous materials table are shown in alphabetical order by proper shipping names, in order of risk, in alphabetical order by brand names, or in order of quantities being shipped. The answer is A, in alphabetical order by proper shipping names. 9.3.3 lists of regulated products. Column 2 lists the proper shipping names and descriptions of regulated materials. Entries are in alphabetical order so that you can move more quickly to find the right entry. Also said the table shows proper shipping names in regular type. The shipping paper must show proper shipping names. Names shown in italics are not proper shipping names. So the answer is more fully, not just in alphabetical order, but in alphabetical order by proper shipping names. That's why A is correct. Question number 8. If there is an RQ before or after the item description on the shipping paper, it means the material is in a package containing no other materials. Material has an insurance value of over $1,000. The shipper must report any spills of this material, or a carrier must report any spill of this material which occurs in a reportable quantity. And it's D, carrier must report any spill of this material which occurs in a reportable quantity. 9.3.3 list of regulated products. When these materials are being transported in a reportable quantity or greater in one package, the shipper displays the letters RQ on the shipping paper and package. The letters RQ may appear before or after the basic description. You or your employer must report any spill of these materials which occurs in a reportable quantity. Question 9. If you are in an accident involving hazardous materials, you should don't tell anything about your load. Keep all people far away and upwind of the accident. Prevent a panic by acting like nothing is wrong, or tell only the emergency response team about the hazard. The answer is B. Keep all people away from and upwind of the accident. 9.7.2 crashes and incidents. As a professional driver, your job at the scene of a crash or an incident is to keep people away from the scene. Further down in this checklist, keep people far away and upwind and warn others of the danger. So keep all people away from and upwind of the incident or accident is the correct answer. Question number 10. In column 1, the D symbol means devices, detonators, domestic transportation, or domestic restrictions. C, domestic transportation. 9.33 list of regulated products. The hazardous materials table. The D means the proper shipping name is appropriate for describing materials for domestic transportation, but may not be proper for international transportation. Question number 11. In the event of an accident involving hazardous materials, you should first try to put out any fires, move leaking material out of the way, send someone for help and warn others of the danger, or keep the tractor away from the scene. Answer C, send someone for help and warn others of the danger. In 9.7.2, send someone for help and warn others of danger. Here it's call for help, which is synonymous with send someone for help and warn others of the danger. That's why C, send someone for help and warn others of the danger, is correct. Question number 12. In the materials class is listed the word forbidden. What kinds of materials are you still allowed to haul? Any other hazardous material? You can't haul a forbidden cargo, nothing, or both B and C. The answer is both B and C, which are you can't haul forbidden cargo and nothing. So 9.3.3 list of regulated products. The wording of the question is a little weird, but the main thing is if the entry is forbidden, never transport a forbidden material. Place hazardous materials shipments based on the quantity and hazard class. So the main thing here is never transport a forbidden material. That's easy enough to remember. Question number 13. On the hazardous materials table, proper shipping names are shown in plain type and in alphabetical order, so you know not to transport that shipment. In italic type and loading order, so you know you can transport that shipment without placards. It's A, in plain type and in alphabetical order. 9.3.3 lists of regulated products. Column 2 lists the proper shipping names and descriptions of regulated materials. Entries are in alphabetical order so you can more quickly find the right entry. The table shows proper shipping names in regular type, not in italics. Question 14. Placarded loads require a fire extinguisher in your truck with the UL rating of 20 BC or more, 10 BC or more, 20 AC or more, or 10 AC or more. The answer is B, 10 BC or more. 9.6.8, 10 BC fire extinguisher. The power unit of placarded vehicles must have a fire extinguisher with a UL rating of 10 BC or more. Question 15. Product ID numbers must appear on each side and both ends of a portable tank or other bulk packaging containing hazardous materials exceeding 500 gallons, food products exceeding 1,000 gallons, hazardous materials 1,000 gallons or more, none of the above. The answer is C, hazardous materials 1,000 gallons or more. In 9.5.1 markings, the identification number must appear on each side of each end of a portable tank or other bulk packaging that holds 1,000 gallons or more. Number 16. The basic shipment of a hazardous product must include the product's name and identification number, the proper shipping name and the hazard class, the proper shipping name, hazard class, and identification number, or the shipper's name, the hazard class, and a placard. The answer is the proper shipping name, hazard class, and identification number. In 9.3.5, in the item description, the basic description of hazardous materials includes the identification number, proper shipping name, and hazard class or division, and the packing group. It does not have the packing group here, but it must include these things here. It should also say packing group just for completeness. And it also doesn't have the proper order here, but it doesn't say in this order. It just says the proper shipping name, hazard class, and identification number are needed to be included. Question number 16. The basic shipment of a hazardous product must include the product's name and identification number, the proper shipping name and the list of marine pollutants, the proper shipping name, hazard class, and identification number, or the shipper's name, the hazard class, and a placard. The answer is the proper shipping name, hazard class, and identification number. In 9.3.5, the basic description of hazardous materials includes the identification number, proper shipping name, hazard class or division, and the packing group, if any, in that order. Question number 17. The hazardous materials identification number is important because the shipper must include it on the package. Police use the number to identify the material after an accident. The shipper must include it on the shipping papers, or all of the above. It's all of the above from 9.3.3. The identification number must appear on the shipping paper as part of the shipping description and also appear on the package. It also must appear on cargo tanks and other bulk packaging. Police and firefighters use this number to quickly identify the hazardous materials. So all these are true, the shipper must include it on the package. The police use the number to identify the material after an accident, and the shipper must include it on the shipping papers. Question number 18. The hazardous materials will be named on the hazardous materials table list, the list of hazardous substances and reportable quantities, either one of the above lists or both of the above lists. The answer is either one of the above lists. In the lists of regulated products 9.3.3, talks about the three main lists used by shippers, carriers, and drivers when trying to identify hazardous materials. Before transporting a material, look for its name on three different lists. And some materials are on all lists, others are only on one list. So the answer is either one of the above lists. Actually, there's three possibilities. One is the hazardous materials table, the list of hazardous substances and reportable quantities, as well as the list of marine pollutants. Question 19. The hazardous waste manifest should be stored in the glove compartment, kept with the drivers at all times, the same as all other paperwork, or tabbed differently and kept on top of all other paperwork. It's D, tabbed differently and kept on top of all other paperwork. 9.6.10, where to keep shipping papers and emergency response equipment. Clearly distinguish hazardous materials shipping papers from others by tabbing them or keeping them on top of the stack of papers. Question number 20. The placard should be placed on the vehicle before you load it, before you drive it, before you get to your destination, or before you cross a scale. It is B, before you drive it. 9.3.10 placarding. Attach the appropriate placards to the vehicle before you drive it. Question number 21. The shipper must attach a diamond-shaped label to hazardous materials by putting a label on the package, putting a label on a tag attached to the product, putting a label on the product, or any of the above. It's any of the above. In 9.3.2, shippers put diamond-shaped hazard warning labels on most hazardous materials packages. These labels inform others of the hazard. If the diamond label won't fit on a package, shippers may put the label on a tag securely attached to the package. So the answer, any of the above, putting a label on a package, on a tag attached to the product, or on a label on the product are all possibilities and are true. Question 22. To find out if a shipment includes a hazardous material, you should open and inspect every package and container, look at the shipping papers, check for a fence around the loading dock, or ask the driver. Just B, look at the shipping papers. 9.3.1, a shipping paper describes the hazardous materials being transported. Question 23, what is the shape and size of a placard? 10 3/4 inch oval, 10 1/2 inch diamond, 10 1/2 inch oval, or 10 3/4 inch square or diamond. It's D, 10 3/4 inch square or diamond. In 2.24.3 lists of regulated products, it says that they must be at least 10 3/4 inch square turned upright on a point in a diamond shape. Question 24. When hauling hazardous materials with any dual tires, stop and check the tires every hour. You must check the tires each time you stop. Check tires every 3 hours or 150 miles, or none of the above. The answer is B. You must check the tires every time you stop. 9.6.9 check tires. You must examine each tire on a motor vehicle at the beginning of each trip and each time the vehicle is parked. Question number 25. When there is a hazardous materials emergency, you should prevent smoking and keep open flames away, keep people away and warn them of the danger, both A and B, or none of the above. The answer is both of the first two, both A and B above, in 9.7.3 and .4. In 9.7.4, in Class 1 explosives, if your vehicle has a breakdown or accident while carrying explosives, warn others of the danger, keep bystanders away, do not allow smoking or an open fire near the vehicle. Question number 26. Whenever your vehicle is placarded, do not drive near open flames or open fires unless you can safely pass the fire without stopping, have LTL of a non-flammable material, are equipped with fire sprinklers, or unless you can stay 100 to 200 feet away from the fire. It's just A, unless you can safely pass the fire without stopping. 9.6.5 route restrictions. Whenever placarded, avoid heavily populated areas, crowds, tunnels, narrow streets, and alleys. Take other routes, even if inconvenient, unless there is no other way. And never drive a placarded vehicle near open fires unless you can safely pass without stopping. Number 27. Which of the following choices is a hazard class that you are not allowed to smoke around? Oxidizers, flammables, explosives, or all of the above? The answer is all of the above. In 9.4.1, general loading requirements, no smoking. When loading or unloading hazardous materials, keep fire away. Don't let people smoke nearby. Never smoke around. Class 1 explosives, Class 2.1 flammable gas, Class 3 flammable liquids, Class 4 flammable solids, or Class 5 oxidizers. That's why all of the above is correct. Question 28. Which of the following shipping descriptions is in the proper order? UN 1076 phosgene 2.3 or phosgene 2.3 UN 1076 or phosgene UN 1076 poison A, or none of the above? It's A, UN 1076 phosgene 2.3. The item description here in section 9.3.5, the item description, depending on what state you're in, the answer may be shipping name first, in which case the answer here is B, which would have been phosgene 2.3 and UN 1076. But ever since 2013, the proper shipping name is no longer first, it's the identification number. And this state here, I think this is the Texas State Manual, has identification number first, which is correct. But if you're in a state, you look in this section in 9.3.5 and make sure that your state doesn't have the old order, because if that's the case, then you should answer the question according to your state CDL manual, even if it is not updated. Question number 29. Which signals may be used to warn of a stopped vehicle that it contains explosives? Flares or fusees, reflective triangles, signal fires, or any of the above? The answer is reflective triangles. In 9.6.4, no flares. You might break down and have to use stopped vehicle signals. Use reflective triangles or red electric lights. And I should say flares or fuses or fusees or any electric type of, I think fusees are kind of outdated now, but they still exist. It's not a typo. Question number 30. You should never transport a package labeled poison if you are hauling porous products, food products, fuel, or fireworks. The answer is food products. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. Under the subject heading Division 2.3 Poisonous Gas or Division 6.1 Poisonous Materials, never load a package labeled poison or poison inhalation hazard in the driver's cab or sleeper or with food material for human or animal consumption. It doesn't say anything about porous products, fuel, or fireworks, but it does mention don't transport a package labeled poison if you have together with food material for human or animal consumption. HazMat Practice Test 4. Question number 1. A segregation and separation chart indicates products that cannot be loaded together in the same trailer, products requiring special handling, products that can be transported together with radioactive materials, or maximum number of animals that can be loaded on a trailer. The answer is A, products that cannot be loaded together in the same trailer, from 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements, Mixed Loads. The rules require some products to be loaded separately. You cannot load them together in the same cargo space. Figure 9.9 lists some examples, the regulations, the segregation table for hazardous materials, name other materials you must keep apart. Question number 2. A placard cannot be placed closer than 3 inches from any other markings, more than 3 inches from the back of the trailer, more than 3 inches from the bottom of the trailer, or less than 3 inches from the front of the trailer. Answer is A, closer than 3 inches from any other markings. 9.3.10 placarding. Placards must appear on both sides and both ends of the vehicle. Each placard must be, and the third thing is, at least 3 inches away from any other markings. Question number 3. A placard is required for combustible liquid at 110 gallons or more, over 100 gallons, more than 1,001 pounds or more, more than 1,001 pounds, or 110 cubic liters or more. The answer is C, more than 1,001 pounds. In this 9.3.11 placard tables, it talks about combustible liquids, and here it's to be found in the placard table number 2, categories of materials that need to be placarded only if they're 1,001 pounds or more. And combustible liquid is listed right here. Question number 4. A properly prepared uniform hazardous waste manifest must be signed and carried by anyone transporting a hazardous waste. It is required only if there is a loss of cargo during transport. Is the same as any other shipping paper. Is definitely a useless form and is not required. Correct answer is A. It must be signed and carried by anyone transporting a hazardous waste. 9.3.9. When transporting hazardous wastes, you must sign by hand and carry a uniform hazardous waste manifest. Question number 5. A safe haven is one place you can leave a vehicle unattended that is hauling explosives. What is the best description of a safe haven? Any property that has been government approved for this use. Any property that is totally fenced in by an 8-foot fence and has a guard on duty all day long. Any property that is totally fenced in by an 8-foot fence, or all of the above. It's A, any property that has been government approved for this use. 9.6.1 Parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. You are allowed to leave your vehicle unattended in a safe haven. A safe haven is an approved place for parking unattended vehicles loaded with explosives. Question number 6. A vehicle contains 500 pounds each of explosives 1.1 and 1.3. You must use dangerous placards, explosives 1.1 placards, explosives 1.1 and explosives 1.3 placards, or none of the above. Answer is B, explosives 1.1 placards is all that's required. When more than one division of Class 1 materials are shipped together, only the placard for the lowest division needs to be displayed. This is from 49 CFR 172.504. Also, if you look at this table in 9.3.11 placard tables, you'll find that if your vehicle contains any amount of 1.1 massive explosives, placard as explosives 1.1. This table is not explicit about whether you need both of these, explosives 1.1 and 1.3, but according to the regulations, the federal regulations in 49 CFR 172.504, you only need to placard the lowest division, which is the most dangerous division, which is in this case explosives 1.1. Question number 7. How many different hazard classes are there? 11, 22, 9, or 19? The answer is 9. In 9.3.1 definitions, a materials hazard class reflects the risks associated with it. There are 9 different hazard classes. Question number 8. If an X or RQ is in the HM column of a shipping paper entry, the shipment is regulated by hazardous materials regulations. Entry refers to the materials that must be top-loaded. The material listed on that line is the largest part of the shipment, or the material listed on that line is the smallest part of the shipment. Answer is A. Shipment is regulated by hazardous material regulations. In 9.3.8, recognizing hazardous materials, learn to recognize shipments of hazardous materials. To find out if the shipment includes hazardous materials, look at the shipping paper. Does it have a highlighted entry or one with an X or RQ in the hazard materials column? Question number 9. If your vehicle is placarded and you must drive across a railroad crossing, you must shift gears quickly as you're crossing the tracks, never shift gears while crossing the tracks, shift gears only if you're sure no train is coming, or all of the above. The answer is B, never shift gears while crossing tracks. In 9.6.12, stop before railroad crossings. Do not shift gears while crossing the tracks. Question number 10. In column 1, the plus sign means the proper shipping name is in italics. The proper shipping name is invalid. The proper shipping name, whether the material meets the definition of that class or not, or this is not the proper shipping name. The answer is C, the proper shipping name, whether the material meets the definition of that class or not. 9.3.3 List of regulated products. The hazardous materials table. 6 different symbols may appear in column 1 of the table, and the first one is a plus sign. Shows the proper shipping name, hazard class, and packing group to use, even if the material does not meet the hazard class definition. Question number 11. One of these shipping paper descriptions for a hazardous material is in the right order. Which one is it? First one is hydrogen bromide, non-flammable gas, UN 1048. Next, corrosive material, hydrochloric acid, UN 1798. Next is UN 1787, hydriodic acid, corrosive material. And last one, hexane, UN 1208, or flammable liquid. The answer is C, UN 1787, hydriodic acid, corrosive material. The item description, depending on what state you're in, the answer may be shipping name first, in which case the answer is A, which would have been the shipping name first. But in C, you can see the ID number is first, which is correct. See section 9.3.5 in your state manual to see how they have it listed, because there are still a few straggling states that have the proper shipping name first, but that's been changed since 2013. And here in the 9.3.5, the item description, the basic description of hazardous materials includes the identification number, proper shipping name, hazard class or division, and the packing group, if any, in that order. Question number 12. Shipping papers must always be kept in one place when driving with hazardous materials. Where when wearing your seatbelt? On the driver's seat at all times, within reach at all times, in a pouch on the driver's door, or both B and C. The answer is both B and C, within reach at all times and in a pouch on the driver's door. 9.6.10 Where to keep shipping papers and emergency response information. When you are behind the wheel, keep shipping papers within your reach, with your seatbelt on, or in a pouch on the driver's door. They must be easily seen by someone entering the cab. Question number 13. The hazard class of all materials specifies the order the materials get loaded into your trailer, how much of the material is on your trailer, the risks associated with materials, or the order of the deliveries. The answer is C, the risks associated with materials. 9.3.1 Definitions. A materials hazard class reflects the risks associated with it. There are 9 different hazard classes. So it's the hazard class of all materials specifies the risks associated with the materials. Question number 14. The shippers package hazardous materials. They must certify that this was done according to the regulations. The only exception is when the driver is given a sealed cargo compartment, the shipment is a hazardous waste. The shipper is the private carrier carrying his own product, or all of the above. The answer is C. The shipper is a private carrier carrying his or her own product. 9.3.6 Shipper's certification. When the shipper packages hazardous materials, he or she certifies that the package has been prepared according to the rules. The only exceptions are when a shipper is a private carrier transporting their own product and when the package is provided by the carrier, for example, a cargo tank. That's why C is correct. Question number 15. The transport index of a radioactive material dictates the maximum speed at which you can transport the material, is something the dispatcher will tell you on a need-to-know basis, tells the degree of control needed during transportation, or none of the above. It's C, tells the degree of control needed during transportation. 9.4.1 General loading requirements. under Class 7 radioactive materials. The transport index tells the degree of control needed during transportation. This concerns, of course, radioactive materials. Question number 16. What placard must be used with an inhalation hazard load? Flammable, dangerous, poison, or all of the above? The answer is C, poison. 9.3.11 placard tables. If the words inhalation hazard are on the shipping paper or package, you must display poison gas or poison inhalation placards in addition to any other placards needed by the product's hazard class. The 1,000 pound exception does not apply to these. Question 17. When a spill occurs of an RQ or reportable quantity substance, the carrier has within how many days or weeks to report the spill? 1 week, 2 weeks, 30 days, or 60 days? The answer is C, 30 days. And 9.7.5, required notification. Be prepared to give your employer the required information as well. Carriers must make detailed written reports within 30 days of an incident. Question number 18. When is it necessary to ground the trailer? Only when filling the trailer with explosives. When filling or unloading any flammable liquid tank, ground must be maintained until filling hole is properly closed. Only when unloading a cargo tank filled with any flammable liquid, or none of the above. The answer is B, when filling or unloading any flammable liquid tank. Ground must be maintained until filling hole is properly closed. This is in 9.5.3, flammable liquids. Ground a cargo tank correctly before filling it through an open filling hole. Ground the tank before opening the filling hole and maintain the ground until after closing the filling hole. Number 19. When transporting both hazardous and non-hazardous materials, your bills must describe the hazardous materials last, have the non-hazardous materials highlighted, identify the materials by the letter X or RQ in the HM column, or make sure that no hazardous materials are highlighted. When transporting both hazardous and non-hazardous materials, your bills must C, identify the materials by the letters X or RQ in the HM column from 9.3.5. If a shipping paper describes both hazardous and non-hazardous products, that the hazardous materials must be entered first, highlighted by a contrasting color, or identified by an X placed before the shipping description. Letters RQ may be used instead of an X if a reportable quantity needs to be identified. So identify the materials by letter X or RQ in the HM column is correct. Question number 20. When transporting explosives, you may not park within 500 feet of the traveled part of the road, park within 300 feet of a tunnel, drive through a construction zone, or none of the above. The answer is B, park within 300 feet of a tunnel. In 9.6.1, parking with the division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. Park within 300 feet of the tunnel is the correct answer and comes from here, except for short periods of time needing for vehicle operation necessities, for example, fueling. Do not park within 300 feet of a bridge, tunnel, or building, which is there's the tunnel, or a place where people gather, or an open fire. Question number 21. Which of the following is a way to decide which placards to use? Materials hazard class, amount of hazardous materials being shipped, total weight of all classes of hazardous materials on your vehicle, or all of the above. The answer is D, all of the above. 9.3.10, placarding. To decide which placards to use, you need to know the hazard class of the materials, which was A, the amount of hazardous materials shipped, which was B, and the total weight of all classes of hazardous materials in your vehicle, which was C. So it's all of the above. Question number 22. Which of the following statements about radioactive labels is true? Yellow 3 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. Yellow 2 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. White 1 indicates the highest level of radioactivity, or black 3 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. The answer is A, yellow 3 indicates the highest level of radioactivity. In 9.3.11, seen in this table, if your vehicle contains any amount of, and it has yellow 3, radioactive yellow 3 label only, and as you can see here, yellow 3 is the highest level of radioactivity. Question 23. Which of the following, if required, must the shipper put on a package? The required label, the hazardous materials shipping name and identification number, the name and address of shipper or consignee, or all of the above. It's D, all of the above. In 9.3.7, package markings and labels. When required, the shipper will put the following on the package: the name and address of shipper or consignee, the hazardous materials shipping name and identification number, or the labels required, which was A, B, and C. Question number 24. Who is responsible for certifying on the bill of lading that the hazardous materials are prepared properly? The driver, the shipper, the carrier, or all of the above? The answer is B, the shipper. 9.3.6, shipper's certification. When the shipper packages hazardous materials, he or she certifies that the package has been prepared according to the rules. Question number 25. Who is responsible for checking to be sure the shipper correctly named, labeled, and marked a hazardous materials shipment? The carrier, the driver, the shipper, or both A and B, the carrier and the driver? The answer is D, which is both A and B, the carrier and the driver. 9.2.2, the carrier, and 9.2.3, the driver. In the carrier section, prior to transportation, the carrier checks that the shipper correctly described, marked, labeled, and otherwise prepared the shipment for transportation. And in 9.2.3, the driver makes sure the shipper has identified, marked, and labeled the hazardous materials property. That's why A and B, the carrier and the driver, is correct. Question number 26. Who is responsible for finding out what permits or special routes you will need to haul hazardous materials? The state governor, the driver, the shipper, or the carrier? It's B, the driver. 9.6.5, route restrictions. It is your job as driver to find out if you need permits or must use special routes. Question number 27. You are hauling hazardous materials and you find that one of your tires is leaking. You must stop at the nearest safe place and fix it, report it to your carrier immediately, continue at a reduced speed and check the tire every 25 miles, or all of the above are true. The answer is A, stop at the nearest safe place and fix it. In 9.6.9, check tires. Do not drive with a tire that is leaking or flat except to the nearest safe place to fix it. Question number 28. You have loaded a hazardous material into a cargo tank. What must you do before you move the vehicle? Close all manholes and valves. Be sure to free of leaks. Call Chemtrek by phone and tell them where you are going. Have the loading observers sign the shipping papers. Or get started on your trip. Everything's okay. The answer is A. Close all manholes and valves. Be sure they are free of leaks. In 9.5.2, tank loading, close all manholes and valves before moving a tank of hazardous materials, no matter how small the amount in the tank or how short the distance. Manholes and valves must be closed to prevent leaks. It is illegal to move a cargo tank with open valves or covers unless it is empty according to Title 49 CFR 173.29. Question number 29. You may not park a vehicle carrying hazardous materials within how many feet of an open fire? 300, 200, 150, or 100? The answer is A, 300. 9.6.1, parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. Do not park within 300 feet of an open fire. Question number 30. You may not park a vehicle carrying hazardous materials within how many feet of an open fire? This is the same question as the previous one, but you have different options. 300 yards, 300 feet, 150 meters, or 1 mile. The answer, if you recall, is B, 300 feet. 9.6.2, parking a placarded vehicle not transporting 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. Do not park within 300 feet of an open fire.